Daniel had always believed that love was meant to be sincere, built on loyalty and trust. When he met Lily, she brought light into his dull, structured life. They laughed, shared dreams, and built what he thought was a strong bond. He gave her his full heart without hesitation, believing their relationship was real. 4 months they lived together, and he began to picture a future where she'd be his wife. But one evening, fate exposed a truth so cruel that it shattered everything he believed about love. He came home early that day, hoping to surprise Lily with dinner and flowers. Her phone was on the kitchen counter, ringing. Out of habit, he picked it up to hand it to her, but what flashed on the screen stopped him cold. A message preview from a contact named Mark. It read, "Just a few more weeks, and she'll be mine again." Confused, Daniel's hands trembled as he scrolled through the messages. What he found were conversations between Lily and Mark, full of promises and secret plans. In the chat, Lily had written, "Don't worry, he's just a temporary guy. I'll leave him when you return." The words struck Daniel like a knife. Every affectionate smile, every late-night talk, every whispered "I love you" suddenly felt like a lie. His chest tightened as he realized he wasn't her forever. He was just a placeholder. The woman he adored had been waiting for someone else all along. He sat there for hours, staring at the screen, unable to cry, unable to move. His heart wasn't just broken, it was numb. When Lily came home later that night, humming a song, Daniel looked at her differently for the first time. Her face, once so familiar and comforting, now seemed like a mask. She noticed the phone in his hand and froze, her smile fading instantly. "You read my messages," she said, her voice trembling slightly. Daniel didn't reply. He simply nodded, setting the phone down on the table. The silence between them was unbearable. She tried to explain, saying things like, "It wasn't serious and you were good to me, but..." Each word only deepened his pain. Daniel stood up and walked past her. He didn't shout, didn't demand answers. He packed his things quietly, the clothes, the books, and a few photographs. When Lily realized he was leaving, she tried to stop him, grabbing his arm. "Daniel, please, I didn't mean for you to find out like this," she whispered. He turned to her with eyes full of quiet sorrow. "You didn't mean for me to find out," he said softly, "but you meant every word you wrote." That night, Daniel left the apartment without looking back. He drove for hours, ending up at the old seaside spot he used to visit as a child. Sitting there with the cold wind brushing against his face, he finally let the tears fall. The ocean's waves echoed his heartbreak, endless, restless, and full of noise. Days turned into weeks. Friends called, worried about him, but he didn't have the strength to explain. Instead, he threw himself into work, trying to numb the ache. Every corner of his home reminded him of Lily. Her laughter, her perfume, the half-finished book she'd left behind. He wanted to hate her, but he couldn't. He only pitied her, for confusing love with convenience. One afternoon, Lily showed up at his office. She looked different, tired, regretful. "Mark left," she said quietly. "He said things changed." Daniel looked at her, emotionless. "So now you're back to the temporary guy?" he asked. She flinched, tears forming in her eyes. "I made a mistake," she said. "I realized too late that you were the one who truly cared." Daniel sighed deeply. "Lily," he said, "you didn't lose me when you chose Mark. You lost me when you decided I wasn't worth your honesty." His tone wasn't cruel, just tired. She begged for another chance, but he had already made peace with walking away. Months later, Daniel found peace in solitude. He learned that not every heartbreak needs revenge. Sometimes silence speaks louder. The wound remained, but it became a reminder, a mark of survival. He met new people, smiled again, and rebuilt his sense of trust, piece by fragile piece. Lily, on the other hand, often sent messages apologizing, all of which went unanswered. She saw him once from afar, laughing with friends, his smile genuine. It hurt her more than she expected, realizing that she was the ghost in his story now. Daniel never spoke of Lily again. But every time he saw a sunset, he remembered that night he left her apartment, and how, despite the pain, that was the first step toward reclaiming his dignity. Sometimes love isn't about holding on. It's about letting go before it destroys you completely. And so, he walked forward. No longer a temporary man, but someone who finally learned his worth in the silence that followed betrayal.